Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are on day number 9 in Texas. You know the drill. We are up $3,612. I hope you guys have been enjoying these vlogs. Thank you for clicking on this video. We are back to the 1-2 grind. Let's get it. We're in Texas playing Texas Hold'em. It doesn't get much better than this, ladies and gentlemen. We're in for $500 per usual, and we're going to hop straight into the first hand. King Jack of Hearts on the small blind. There's 3 limps over to me. I'm going to raise it up to $20, and surprisingly, we only get 1 caller from the cutoff. Going heads up here to a flop which comes jack high, good for us, jack 10-7 rainbow with 1 heart. I decide to bet here to protect my top pair. We have a few backdoor draws to go along. I make it $15 to go, and the cutoff pretty quickly puts in the call. I have a love-hate relationship with this turn card. It's the 9 of hearts giving us a flush draw, but any 8 is going to make a straight here, and after a while I decide to go for a check. I don't need to bloat the pot because we only have top pair right now. Sure, we have a flush and a straight draw. Maybe we can hit one of our outs on the river and get more value. So I check, and the cutoff decides to see a free river card. He checks back, and the river comes a beautiful looking 6 of hearts. We improve to the king high flush. Now going to bet for value. I'm hoping my opponent has a straight. Obviously he's going to pay us off, but we're targeting a hand like 2 pair or maybe a top pair hand that'll get sticky with us here. So I set the price to $45. If you want to see my hand, that's what you got to pay. And he does want to see my hand. He sticks in the call. We show him the flush, and he mucks. And we're going to win the first hand of this session. It's always nice to start it out with a win. Good for your mental state. Good for the flow of the game. Let's keep it going. We look down at a premium hand. Ace King here. We're on the button. There's 5 limps over to me, and I only decided to make it $25. In my opinion, you should be making this $35 to $40 when there's 5 limpers. One person tends to call, and then the next person, and then the rest of the 3 guys just get priced in. Anyway, I make it $25, but we only get 1 caller, surprisingly, dude. Again, the middle position calls, but not so fast. Only 1 caller. The hijack goes all in for $75. I look over at the middle position stack. He only has about $200. I cover that. I'm going to be putting it all in, $200 effective. And the middle position decides he doesn't want to wager all of his chips. He folds, and we're going to go off to a run out here. Heads up against the hijack. The flop comes queen 7-5 with 2 diamonds. Turn king. That's a beautiful looking card. River, king. We almost always have the best hand unless he has queens full. And he shows us, so sick, man, pocket aces. He went for the limp jam with aces, got it in way ahead, flopped me almost dead, but the dealer said not so fast. That's not how we work here at Texas Card House. So running hot here at the beginning of the session. Love to see it, man. Pocket 9s, we're moving on. 2 limps to me. I'm going to raise it up to $20, and we get a call from the button player. We're going to go heads up to a flop. Looking to flop a set, but we don't. It's 10-7-6, not the worst flop in the world. Flop second pair and a gutter ball to the straight. I decide to go for a check to see what the button is going to do, and he knows exactly what he's going to do. He's going to go all in for $64. I don't think I can be folding here. I'm not sure. We could be behind a 10, but a lot of times players will jam a hand like 8-7 or 5-4, so I think we're going to be ahead of a lot of his range here. So I stick in the call. Let's go off to a run out. The turn comes to 5 of diamonds and the river 6 of hearts. No help to us, and we're going to lose this one to ace 10. He flopped top. It's all good, though. You win some, you lose some. That's just how the game flows. We're going to lose this one. We're going to try to battle back here. Next hand, we have a good-looking ace-queen offsuit on the cutoff. A player in middle position raises to $10, and the action folds to me. I'm going to be 3-betting this most of the time. Sometimes you can mix in a flat if it's a tighter player or they open from an earlier position, but I decide to 3-bet to $30, and the middle position player looks me up. We're going to go heads up to a flop. Flop comes king 7-7 with 1 club. It's a complete whiff, but the board is pretty dry. It's going to be hard for our opponent to have a hand here. We have backdoor flush and straight opportunities. And our opponent decides to donk bet into us. He makes it $30. I think ace-queen is going to be a mandatory float here. We have an overcard, backdoor Broadway draw, and obviously the backdoor nut flush draw. And it's going to be hard for our opponents to have a hand here. I think it's very likely that our opponent could have some kind of draw, as well as a hand like pocket 8s or pocket 9s. And if that's the case, then our ace and queen outs are live as well. We're also in position, which makes it way easier to navigate the rest of the hand. So I decide to stick in the call, and we see a very welcome sight on the turn. It's the ace of hearts. We drill top pair. The board is paired with the king kicker though, so we do chop against any ace. Either way, he decides to slow down on this card. And I'm definitely going to be betting here, but I don't think I need to go big. We want to keep all of those hands in like pocket 10s, pocket 9s. So I'm going to go for a bit of value. I decide on a third the size of the pot for $45. Looking to see a call and get some more value on the river. One thing I didn't expect is for the middle position player to check raise us. He makes it $100. I do think it's going to be extremely hard for us to be beat here. Obviously, he can have some 7x, but I think ace queen is going to be the best hand here almost always. He never has pocket kings. He never has pocket aces, and I don't think he ever has ace king. I think those hands are going to try to get it all in pre-flop. So I'm definitely not folding the turn here. I decide to stick in the call. The river comes to 10 of diamonds. Shouldn't change anything. Obviously, we're now beat by ace 10. So when he jams all in for his remaining $100, I'm definitely not going to be folding here. If he has a 7, so be it. We're getting a really good price here, but we're probably just chopping against another ace. I stick in the call, and he's going to show us king 10 for 2 pair. But guess what, buddy? I have a better 2 pair. Aces and 7s with a king kicker. He decided to turn his king into a bluff on the turn. Didn't work out too well for him here. It's nice to catch our opponents making a move, and we're going to get rewarded for sticking in the money there. Moving on, we are getting a lot of premium hands this session. Pocket queens. We are in the hijack, and there's 1 limp over to me. Raise it up to $25, and we get 3 customers this time. We're going to go 4 ways to a not so good looking flop. Ace 7-5 with 2 spades. We are in position on the entire hand, which is pretty good for us. So when it checks over to me, in the moment I decided to put a small wager out for $25. It's about a quarter the size of the pot. I don't mind this bet, but I think I would prefer a check back here. What this bet will do is it'll thin the field and maybe get heads up here to the turn card. Obviously, if we get called, our opponents aren't always going to have an ace. There's tons of draws out there, and they can even have a hand like pocket 8s or pocket 9s that'll want to call the flop. And we actually do get heads up. The small blind puts in the call, so we're going to go off to a turn card, which is the jack of hearts. Should be a pretty big blank. When the small blind checks to me, I'm definitely going to just be trying to get to showdown as quickly as possible. It still could be likely the pocket queens are the best hand, especially without a spade. Our opponents could continue on the flop with a hand like queen 10 of spades, queen 9 of spades, queen jack of spades. You get the point. Also, checking back the turn here will allow our opponents to throw out a bluff on the river because our line looks really weak, betting really small and then checking back turn. So I check back. The river is the 9 of hearts, and our opponent does lead out into us. He makes it $75. Now we have a decision to make. Do you think our opponent is bluffing enough here for us to stick in the call? The most obvious straight draw gets there like 8-6, but the front door spade draw missed here. And we don't have the queen of spades, meaning we give our opponent more combos to bluff with here on the river. So I don't know. You know I like to hero call. I stick in the call. And we get shown the bad news here. He has the nuts. Ace 4 of hearts. He had us beat on the flop, and he rivered the Nutter Butters. We're going to mark our cards here. Unsuccessful hero call on the river. I think we had decent reasoning, but you can't win them all. So we're going to try and do that again. Pocket queens, back to back. 2 limps over to me. I'm going to wager 4 red chips. That's $20, and we get a call from the low jack. To the flop we go, jack 4-3 with 2 hearts. When the low jack checks to me, definitely going to be betting here. A lot we can get value from. I make it $20. Looking to get in the stacks in this hand. The low jack puts in the call, and we see a turn card, which is the 8 of clubs, a complete brick. So when he checks it over to me, we're going to be betting once again. I think this is a perfect spot to overbet. Our opponent definitely could think we have a lot of draws that would play this way. But in the moment, I just decided on a bet of $50. I really do like a bet of $100 to $125 here. So I bet out for $50, and he decides to come along. This one's getting a bit interesting, and we see a river card, which is the king of clubs. Seems like a scare card for our hand, but really is a big brick for this one. Obviously, we can give him credit for a couple of king high flush draws, but other than that, this is going to be a brick. The only thing I don't like about this is it's going to make it difficult for us to get more value out of a jack. When he checks it over to me, we're going to go for more value here, trying to get 3 streets from a jack, maybe a non-believing pocket pair like 7s or 6s. The front door heart draw missed, so maybe our opponent can get a bit sticky with us here. Don't need to bet too big. I make it $65, but our opponent quickly folds, and he says that he needed any 10 or any heart. So we had a draw that bricked the river, and we're going to take this one down, getting a little bit back there from the last queen's hand. Real quickly, you guys, I have a Discord community all about poker. We talk poker, we learn poker, we bounce ideas off each other. It's a group with a bunch of like-minded people. If you want to get better, or you want to make some friends online that talk poker, click the link in my description. I'll be on there every day. It's a blast, and I hope I can see some of you guys in there. We're going to move on to the next hand. Ace 6 of clubs here. I'm under the gun +1, and I decide to make it $20 to go. And we get a call from the big blind, doing a little heads-up poker here in position. The flop comes really good for us, actually. 9-5-6 with 2 clubs. We flop middle pair and the ace-high flush draw. Not a bad start for us. When big blind checks over to me, I think I could do some checking back here because this board is definitely going to favor him more than me. But in the moment, I decided to make a half pot bet of $25, and the big blind decides to come along and see a turn card. The turn now is a wet one. The 7 of diamonds brings 2 flush draws out there. Any 8 makes a straight. He's going to have a lot more 8x from me because I open from under the gun +1. The only reasonable 8x that I could have is 9-8 suited, 10-8 suited, 7-8 suited, and ace-8 suited, while he'll have most of the suited 8s and some offsuit combos as well. The big blind decides to take advantage of this and lead into me for $50 here. I do think that this is an over bluff spot. When people are in the big blind, they see a bunch of low connected cards. They're like, this is me. It's true, but it definitely is a little bit overbluffed. So I think third pair could even be good here sometimes. Obviously not depending on it. We have the nut flush draw to go along, so I'm not going to be folding on the turn here. I stick in the call, and we see a river. We drill the straight. It's the 8 of diamonds. Just kidding. There's a straight on the board. Pretty gross run out here, and the big blind decides to wager 125 chips. This is not looking good for us. If we call here, we're basically just calling to chop up the pot. Our opponent could have any 10 and have us beat, or he could have any 2 diamonds and have us beat. We haven't invested too much in this pot. We decide to fold our cards. It's not worth it to go for the chop. I think our opponent is going to have enough 10x and flushes here. Not worth it for us this time. We decide to pick a better spot. And pick a better spot we are going to with pocket kings here. Jeez, they look so good, man. Are you kidding me? We're in the big blind. The middle position makes it $10 and gets a call from the small blind. We're in the big blind, and I decide to 3-bet only to $40 here. I would like a sizing of $55 to $60 here. We're out of position. But in the moment, I looked at my opponent's stacks, and they were a bit shallow, so I didn't need to go too big. I figured we'd have an easy time getting it all in on the flop or turn. So when I make it $40, the middle position decides to see a flop with me, and we're going to go heads up to 8-3 deuce rainbow. Pretty harmless flop, but it's going to be difficult for our opponent to connect here. I think checking it over to him definitely allows him to start bluffing, maybe catch up on the turn. If he has a hand like 9s or 10s, he's probably just going to jam or bet on this flop and we'll get it in. Our opponent only has $100 left, so it's not going to be a problem to get it in on later streets. I check it over to him, but he decides to take the turn card. He checks it back, and the turn is the 10 of hearts. Now I think we got to start betting. We can bet small here, charge a few draws. Maybe he hit that turn card with a hand like Queen 10 or Jack 10. So I bet out for $40, and the middle position looks intrigued. He sticks in the call, hoping for a river card that could give us some action and maybe get all the rest of the chips in there. It's a pretty big blank. It's the 3 of diamonds. I go all in for his remaining $60, and he quickly folds. So I presume that he had a draw of some kind on the turn. We're going to scoop in a little pot here with the Cowboys, and our stack is looking good. This session has gone pretty good for us, and we're going to try to keep that going here. A suited gapper in the small blind, 9-7 of diamonds. There's a hijack player that makes it $15, and the action gets over to me. Calling seems like a bad option. Folding should be fine most of the time, but we decide to get aggressive here. We make it $55. We don't want our opponents to think every time we 3-bet we have a good hand. We want to mix it up, and this might be a little bit light, but hey man, you got to live a little every once in a while. The hijack puts in the call, so we're going to have to battle with some post-flop poker here. And not much battling for us to do because the poker gods just handed us 2 pairs. Jack 9-7. What a beautiful looking sight when you 3-bet 9-7 suited. I'm going to start off with a bet here. Bottom 2 pair is typically pretty vulnerable, especially when there's a lot of straight draws out there. So I'm going to size up a little bit. I make it $70. Hoping to get looked up here and put stacks in the middle. The hijack agrees with that. He sticks in the call. And we're going to go off to a beautiful looking turn card. The 3 of spades. It's the biggest blank in the world. It does put a backdoor flush draw out there, but I'm not too worried. I'm going to continue pumping money in the middle here. I make it $155. The hijack wants to see the turn card. He's going to have to pay for it, but he does not want to see the turn card. He mucks his cards, and we're going to scoop in a nice pot there, and we're going to move on to an interesting bomb pot that I played. Here in Texas, every dealer change, you're going to do a double board hold'em bomb pot. I have 5-4 suited, and I flop a flush on one board. We end up getting a 3-way all in, and me and somebody else end up chopping a pot, so it's nice to win there. I think we profit about $200-300 on that one. We look down at 2 red 9s next. We're on the button, and the low jack makes it $15 before the hijack 3-bets to $40. Now, I'm not a big fan of cold calling 3-bets. Sometimes I believe you can do it exploitively, and I think this is a really good spot here. We're in position. We have a hand that'll play pretty easy post-flop. It's not quite strong enough to 4-bet, and I don't really like folding it here, so I stick in the call, and the low jack's going to come along as well, playing a 3-way pot here. The flop comes really dry. King 8-3 rainbow. Obviously, the king isn't great for us. Apparently, it's great for the low jack, though, because he goes all in for $55. The hijack decides to let his cards go, and the action gets back to me. It's a really good price here. I think he could just be putting it in here with a lot of random hands. I've seen people do this before. They just kind of want to see what happens. But for that price, I'm going to see what he has. I stick in the call, and we're going to go off to a run out here. The 7 of spades and the 5 of spades. And sure enough, he shows us ace high, ace jack of diamonds. We're going to scoop this pot here, and the dealer pushes the pot my way. When I tell you we've been getting premium hands this session, we've gotten queens twice, kings, ace king suited is up next. Ace king of spades might be the prettiest looking hand in the game of poker. Some people say it's better than aces. I'm not too sure about that. We'll see. An important part about this hand coming up is that the middle position player who's about to raise just bought in for $100. That's right. He just sat down and he decides to raise it up. But it's not your normal raise here. He makes it 4-0, $40 to go. And we look down at a premium hand. We're going to 3-bet this, obviously just trying to get stacks in with this guy for his last $60. I 3-bet to 105, and sure enough, he sticks in the rest of his stack here. It seems like he's just looking to gamble and he sat down. We're going to go off to a run out here, but he wants to flip over his cards before we see the flop. He shows us pocket aces, man. He just sat down. He got it all in. Pocket aces. We ran into the best hand in poker. So sick, man. But we cracked him earlier with ace king. Can we do it again? The flop comes down. Queen, 8, jack with 2 hearts. We flop a Broadway draw. Any 10 will give us the straight. We could use a couple spades on the turn and river as well. But the turn card comes the 8 of clubs, river, 3 of spades. We're not going to crack aces this time. But dude, so sick. You sit down, you buy in, and you get it all in with aces. So gross, man. That's okay. It's still been a pretty good session for us so far. And moving on, we're going to get sticky on the straddle with jack 3 of clubs. I straddle for $5, and the early position decides to put in the call. There's a hijack player that makes it $12. I'm going to defend for $7 more, and the early position player does as well. We're going to go 3 ways to a flop, which comes 8-7-3 rainbow. We have bottom pair, but we're going to get to see a turn card when the action checks around. The turn card is absolutely magical. It's the 3 of diamonds. We drill trips, and it's going to look extremely disguised. Obviously, when the action checks around on the flop, our opponents are probably not going to have too much, but I'm going to bet out here. I want to try to get money in the middle. I make it $20, about half pot. And we do get looked up by the early position player. So to the river card we go, the deuce of spades. There's $79 in the pot. I want to try to get max value, maybe from an 8 or a 7. So I bet $75, and our opponent goes into the tank for about a minute before calling us. We flip over jack 3, that's trips, and the dealer's going to push the pot our way, or is he? Our opponent flips over king 3. He has us out kicked with the trips, man. I don't know why he tanked for a minute on the river. Maybe he was contemplating raising. I feel like I might have just got like a mini slow roll there. Anyway, he's going to scoop it. That's okay. You win some, you lose some. It went to a good guy. Moving on to the last hand of the night. And I can't think of a better way to end it. This is like a movie, man. Pocket aces. They are looking beautiful today, man. You know what my favorite thing is about pocket aces? Putting money in the middle. Hijack makes it $20, and we're in the big blind. We're going to make it $65. Now, this is where I think I definitely made a mistake. When you're out of position, you should be going at least 4x, especially with your best hands. You want to get max value, so I think $80 to $90 is better here. But what are you going to do? The hijack sticks in the call, and we're going to play heads up to a flop, which is 9-5-3 with 2 spades. Should be pretty good for us. We're definitely going to bet here. I make it about third the size of the pot for $45. And the hijack does not call here, but he doesn't fold either. He's going to stick in the raise. And it's a big one, dude. 170. It's over 4 times the amount I just put out there. He must have something he likes. Obviously, aces are never going to hit the muck here. It's just a matter of, do we want to get it in for his last $200 behind, or do we want to call here and try to let him bluff it off on the turn card? I like the second option. I think calling here does a lot. If we rejam here, it's going to look really strong and might get our opponents off some of his value hands. So I stick in the call, and we see a turn card, which is the king of clubs. Pretty harmless. Not going to be leading when he raises that big on the flop. So I check it over to him. And like expected, he jams all in for $200, and I snap call. And we're going to go off to 2 different rivers. That's right. We run it twice. And he shows us 10-9 of clubs. So he has plenty of equity. Any 9, any 10, or any club is going to give him the best hand. The first river is the 10 of hearts. Oh boy. Now we're the ones sweating here. He hit 2 pair. Let's see. We need to dodge a club, a 10, or 9. The river is the deuce of hearts. We do dodge it. We're going to chop up that pot. Good thing we ran it twice, man. That would have been tough to get stacked in the $875 pot. But that's going to be the last hand of this session. Not a bad one if I do say so myself. We were into that game for $500 and out for $1,035. That's a profit of $535 and not a bad session, if you ask me. Thank you guys for watching. Click subscribe. There's going to be a lot more vlogs. I'll see you in the next one.